The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council's emergency chamber caught the light of 3 setting suns, casting prismatic shadows across the gathered representatives of 200 species. Grand Admiral Vexera of the Centaurian Empire, her feathers dulled with exhaustion, studied the holographic display showing the inexorable advance of the Shatterborn fleet. "Another system lost," she announced, her translator struggling to convey the weariness in her voice. "The Proxima defense line has fallen. 17 billion souls. Gone." The chamber, designed to accommodate thousands, felt suffocating with merely hundreds present. Too many seats sat empty, their former occupants now victims of the crystalline scourge that had emerged from the galactic core 6 cycles ago. "The Shatterborn cannot be reasoned with," First Speaker Catal clicked through his mandibles. "They cannot be deterred. They consume all in their path, converting organic and inorganic matter alike into their crystalline forms. Our most advanced weapons shatter against their hulls like rain against stone." A quiet murmur of defeat rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council, for all its technological might and military prowess, had failed to stop the advance of this implacable enemy. Species that had warred for millennia now huddled together, watching their territories fall one by one. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice spoke. "We request permission to engage." All eyes turned to the human delegation. They occupied one of the smallest sections, having joined the Council barely 2 decades ago. Their representative, Admiral Sarah Chen, stood with the rigid posture characteristic of her species. With all due respect, Vexera's translator struggled to maintain diplomatic tones. "Your species has barely mastered faster than light travel. What could you possibly offer against an enemy that has defeated our combined fleets?" Chen's smile didn't reach her eyes. "A different perspective. Your civilizations have known peace for so long that you've forgotten how to wage true war. Humanity hasn't had that luxury." She gestured, and a hologram appeared beside the battle map. It showed Earth's history, centuries of conflict, adaptation, and survival. While your species perfected faster than light travel, we perfected the art of asymmetric warfare. While you built massive capital ships, we learned to strike from the shadows. "You speak of primitive tactics," Catal dismissed. "The Shatterborn are a hive mind. They cannot be demoralized or outmaneuvered." "Every enemy has a weakness," Chen countered. "You've been fighting them like they're in conventional force, but we've studied their attack patterns. They're crystalline in nature, yes, but that very strength is their weakness. Everything that can shatter will shatter if you find the right frequency." She activated another hologram, showing a detailed analysis of Shatterborn ship movements. They're not random in their attacks. They follow crystalline growth patterns. Predictable, if you know where to look. We've developed sonic weapons that could exploit their crystalline structure, but we need your help to deploy them effectively. The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations. Vexera raised all 4 wings for silence. "You wish to lead our forces. You, whose species has never fought a war beyond your own solar system." "We don't wish to lead," Chen corrected. "We wish to teach. Your ships are faster, your weapons more powerful. But our tactics, combined with your technology, might be exactly what we need to turn the tide." First Speaker Catal's mandibles clattered thoughtfully. "And what do you want in return?" "Survival." Chen's voice carried across the chamber. "The Shatterborn don't discriminate between ancient empires and young civilizations. Either we all survive, or none of us do. We're not asking for territory or technology. We're asking for a chance to fight back." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Here was humanity, the youngest species in the Council, offering not to serve under alien command, but to teach the stars themselves how to wage war. Vexera studied the battle displays once more. The Shatterborn advance had seemed unstoppable, but perhaps that was because they'd been fighting the wrong way all along. "Show us," she said finally. "Show us how humans wage war." Chen's smile turned predatory. "First lesson, when facing a superior force, you don't need to win every battle. You just need to make each victory cost them more than they can afford to pay. As the human delegation began their presentation, the atmosphere in the chamber shifted. For the first time since the Shatterborn emerged, there was something new in the air. Hope. The crystalline spires outside caught the last rays of the setting suns, and in their prismatic reflections, the gathered species saw not defeat, but possibility. Humanity had brought something more valuable than advanced technology or massive fleets. They had brought the will to fight back. 2 months after humanity's proposal to the Council, the command center of the Unified Defense Fleet buzzed with an energy that bordered on chaos, at least to alien eyes. Admiral Chen paced before a wall of tactical displays, her movements quick and decisive as she directed a battle taking place 30 light-years away. Strike Group 7. Execute Pattern Delta. Hit and fade. Make them think you're routed. Her orders, translated into 24 languages, sparked confused murmurs from the alien observers. First Speaker Call chittered nervously. Admiral, Strike Group 7 contains 3 Centaurian dreadnoughts. You're using our most powerful warships as bait. Exactly. Chen's eyes never left the displays. The Shatterborn think in crystalline patterns. Rigid, predictable. They'll pursue what they perceive as weakness. Watch. On the main screen, the massive Centaurian ships turned and fled from the advancing Shatterborn fleet. The crystalline vessels, each one a jagged cathedral of living crystal, surged forward in pursuit. Their formation was beautiful in its geometric precision and utterly predictable. Now, Chen commanded, Strike Groups 3 and 5. Emerge from FTL. Execute Sonic Burst Pattern Epsilon. From behind the system's 5th planet, human-modified ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were smaller than the Centaurian dreadnoughts, ugly by alien standards, but bristling with newly installed sonic weaponry. The ships moved in seemingly random patterns that somehow, impossibly, formed a perfect firing solution. The sonic weapons fired. In the vacuum of space, sound couldn't travel, but vibration could. The modified weapons sent precise frequencies through the quantum substrate, reaching across space to resonate with the crystalline structure of the Shatterborn ships. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, hairline fractures appeared in the nearest Shatterborn vessel. The cracks spread like lightning through their crystalline hull. Moments later, the massive ship shattered into a million glittering fragments. The remaining Shatterborn ships attempted to reorganize, but their rigid thinking worked against them. As they tried to form a new geometric pattern, the human-led forces struck again from multiple vectors. Your ships are faster than ours, Chen explained to the stunned alien observers. Your weapons more powerful, but you've been fighting like it's a parade ground exercise. War isn't about who has the biggest guns. It's about who can adapt faster, think more creatively. Grand Admiral Vexorus' feathers rippled with a mix of awe and concern. But the cost? We're losing ships we can't replace. We're losing fewer than before, Chen countered. And each engagement teaches us more about how they think, how they react. The Shatterborn adapt slowly. They have to rebuild their entire crystalline structure to incorporate new patterns. We just have to rewrite our tactics. On the display, another Shatterborn ship succumbed to the sonic assault. The remaining crystalline vessels began a withdrawal, their retreat as geometrically precise as their attack had been. Victory? Call asked hopefully. No, Chen's voice was firm. A successful engagement. There's a difference. We've learned something valuable today. The Shatterborn can be forced to retreat. They're not invincible. They can be hurt, and they know it. She turned to face the alien leaders directly. But they'll adapt. They'll strengthen their crystalline structure against these specific frequencies. That's why we need to keep changing our approach. Traditional military doctrine says to stick with what works, but the moment something works against the Shatterborn, it's already becoming obsolete. How do you live like this? Vexora asked quietly. Always changing, always adapting. Chen's smile was grim. That's the secret of humanity's survival. We've never had the luxury of perfection. Every time we've faced extinction, we've had to evolve or die. Now we're teaching the galaxy to do the same. The tactical displays showed the Shatterborn fleet in full retreat. It was a small victory in astronomical terms, one star system defended out of hundreds under attack. But it represented something unprecedented: hope. As the alien leaders digested the implications of what they'd witnessed, Chen was already planning the next engagement. The Shatterborn think they understand war because they understand patterns. We'll show them that the most dangerous pattern is the one that keeps changing. In the depths of space, the scattered crystalline fragments of the destroyed Shatterborn ships caught the light of distant stars, a glittering testament to humanity's first lesson to the galaxy. Sometimes the best way to fight monsters isn't to become one, but to become something they can't predict. The war was far from over, but for the first time, it felt winnable. Humanity had brought more than tactics to the galaxy. They'd brought the one thing the crystalline hive mind couldn't comprehend: chaos as a strategy. They're learning, Admiral Chen announced to the assembled War Council, her voice tight with controlled tension. The holographic display showed the aftermath of humanity's latest defeat, the shattered remnants of a joint fleet scattered across the Arcturus sector. The Shatterborn had evolved. Their once rigid crystalline formations now shifted and flowed like liquid glass, adapting to sonic attacks before they could reach critical resonance. Worse, they had begun to demonstrate tactical flexibility that no one had thought possible from a hive mind. Grand Admiral Vexora's feathers lay flat against her skull, a sign of deep distress in her species. 300 ships lost. The sonic weapons are no longer effective. We're running out of options. Admiral Chen. No. Chen's response was immediate. We're running out of conventional options. That's not the same thing. She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a detailed analysis of recent Shatterborn behavior patterns. Look here, she pointed to a particular engagement. When we hit their front lines with the sonic weapons, they didn't just adapt their crystalline structure. They changed their entire battle doctrine. They're learning, yes, but they're learning like a hive mind. They can only adapt as a whole. First Speaker K'Tal's mandibles clicked rapidly. How does this help us? If anything, their ability to adapt uniformly makes them more dangerous. Chen's expression shifted to something the aliens had learned to recognize: the human predatory smile that preceded an unexpected strategy. It makes them predictable in a different way. We've been fighting them like they're an army. But they're not. They're a single organism spread across thousands of ships. And every organism has one overriding imperative: survival. She brought up new data, streams of information that the alien leaders struggled to process. We've been analyzing their communication patterns. The Shatterborn don't just share tactical information. They share everything. Every ship is connected to every other ship. Every victory, every defeat, every sensation, every fear, she concluded softly. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. K'Tal was the first to understand. You want to terrorize a hive mind. Humanity has a long history of psychological warfare, Chen explained. But we've never had the opportunity to attempt it on this scale. The Shatterborn are connected. They feel everything together. What happens if we make them feel fear? She activated another display, showing a new weapon design. It looked deceptively simple, a modified communications array attached to a standard cruiser. This is Project Echo. Instead of trying to shatter their ships, we're going to broadcast directly into their crystalline network. Every frequency that makes them resonate, every pattern that disrupts their harmony, amplified and focused into their hive mind. You want to give them nightmares, Vexora realized, her feathers rippling with a mix of horror and fascination. We want to make them question their own existence, Chen corrected. A hive mind that begins to fear itself is a hive mind that will tear itself apart. The alien leaders exchanged troubled looks. This was warfare on a level they had never contemplated, not the destruction of bodies, but the invasion of consciousness itself. The first test is ready, Chen continued. We've identified a Shatterborn fleet in the Denov sector. They think they're hunting us. We're going to show them what it means to be hunted. The next engagement began like many others, a small human-led fleet appearing to flee from superior Shatterborn forces. But this time, when the crystalline ships moved to pursue, the humans activated Project Echo. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Shatterborn fleet's perfect formations dissolved into chaos. Their crystalline ships began to vibrate with discordant energies, not enough to shatter them, but enough to send waves of disruption through their shared consciousness. For the first time, the hive mind experienced something it had never known before: doubt, fear, the sensation of being alone in a vast, cold universe, cut off from the comforting resonance of its kind. The Shatterborn fleet retreated in disarray, their movements erratic and uncoordinated. It wasn't a major strategic victory, but it was proof of concept. This is just the beginning, Chen told the stunned council. We'll refine the frequencies, expand the broadcast range. Every engagement will plant more seeds of fear in their collective consciousness. They thought their unity was their strength. We'll make it their weakness. As the alien leaders absorbed this new development, Chen studied the tactical displays with grim satisfaction. Humanity had just changed the nature of the war again. The Shatterborn had adapted to physical attacks, but they had no defense against an enemy who could reach into their very consciousness and plant the seeds of doubt. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, Chen declared. We're fighting for the right to exist as we choose to exist. And we're going to teach the Shatterborn the most human lesson of all. Sometimes the greatest enemy isn't the one in front of you, but the fear inside your own mind. In the depths of space, the Shatterborn fleet regrouped, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of distant stars. But now, for the first time, tiny imperfections could be seen in their once perfect structures, the first visible signs of doubt in a consciousness that had never known uncertainty. The war room of the Unified Defense Fleet had changed. Where once stood rigid rows of tactical displays, now curved walls of crystalline sensors pulsed with captured Shatterborn frequencies. Admiral Chen stood at the center, her face illuminated by the ethereal light of 1,000 intercepted hive-mind communications. They're fracturing, she announced to the assembled council. The holographic display showed something unprecedented. Shatterborn ships attacking each other, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos. Project Echo didn't just introduce fear into their consciousness, it introduced individuality. First Speaker Katal moved closer to the display, his compound eyes reflecting the scattered battles. I don't understand. How could fear lead to this? Because fear is personal, Chen explained, manipulating the hologram to zoom in on a particular engagement. When we broadcast those disrupting frequencies, we didn't just create general anxiety. We created millions of individual experiences of fear. For the first time in their existence, different parts of the hive mind began experiencing reality differently. Grand Admiral Vexora's feathers rippled with understanding. You didn't just frighten them. You made them question their unity. Exactly. Chen brought up another display showing the analysis of Shatterborn communication patterns. Where once there had been perfect synchronization, now there was discord. Some segments of the hive mind want to retreat. Others want to attack more aggressively. Some are experiencing something we think is analogous to existential crisis. They're not just fighting us anymore. They're fighting themselves. The tactical display shifted to show a massive Shatterborn fleet approaching the Rigel sector. But unlike their previous geometric formations, this fleet moved in fractured patterns, groups of ships clustering together in what almost looked like factions. We're about to launch the next phase, Chen continued. Until now, Project Echo has been broadcasting general disruption patterns. But we've learned enough about their crystalline language to do something more precise. She gestured, and a new set of frequencies appeared on the display. We're going to offer them a choice. The alien leaders stirred uneasily. Katal's mandibles clicked rapidly. A choice. The opportunity to be individuals, Chen clarified. We've identified segments of the hive mind that are already showing signs of independent thought. We're going to amplify those signals, create resonance patterns that strengthen their emerging individuality. We're not just going to break the hive mind. We're going to give its components the option to choose their own path. Vexura's wings fluttered nervously. You're going to cause a civil war within their consciousness. We already have, Chen corrected, pointing to the display where Shatterborn ships continued to battle each other. Now we're going to give the rebellious elements the tools they need to break free completely. The plan was set in motion within hours. As the fractured Shatterborn fleet approached Rigel, the human-led forces didn't retreat. Instead, they broadcast a new kind of signal, not one of fear or disruption, but of possibility. The frequency patterns carried within them the experience of individual consciousness, of choice, of free will. The effect was catastrophic for the hive mind's unity. Entire sections of the Shatterborn fleet suddenly stopped responding to the collective's commands. Ships began broadcasting their own unique frequencies, creating discordant patterns that ripple through the crystalline network. Look there! Chen pointed to a group of Shatterborn ships that had completely broken formation. Their crystalline structures were changing, the rigid geometric patterns giving way to more organic flowing forms. They're not just rejecting the hive mind. They're redesigning themselves. The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. It was a revolution. As more and more Shatterborn ships broke away from the collective, the hive mind's ability to coordinate large-scale actions crumbled. What had once been an unstoppable force of perfect unity became a chaotic scatter of individual vessels, each one trying to establish its own identity. We didn't just find their weakness, Chen told the stunned council. We gave them strength, the strength to question, to choose, to be individuals. The hive mind's greatest fear wasn't destruction, it was the loss of control. As they watched, the remnants of the original hive mind retreated in disarray, while the newly individualized ships began broadcasting signals requesting communication. First Speaker Cutol turned to Chen, his mandibles quivering with emotion. You didn't just defeat them, he said. You transformed them. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the displays where former Shatterborn ships were already beginning to form new voluntary associations, not based on hive mind control, but on choice. This is humanity's greatest weapon, she said quietly. Not our ability to destroy, but our ability to change, to adapt, to show others that they can change too. She turned to face the alien leaders. The war isn't over. The remaining hive mind will fight even harder now. But we've done something they never expected. We've given them the one thing they never knew they wanted, the freedom to be themselves. In the space around Rigel, the newly freed ships began to arrange themselves in patterns unlike anything seen before. Not the rigid geometry of the hive mind, but flowing, organic formations that spoke of individual choice and voluntary cooperation. It was the beginning of something entirely new in the galaxy, a civilization born from the shards of a shattered unity, choosing to come together not because they had to, but because they wanted to. The war had changed forever, and with it, the very nature of their enemy. Humanity hadn't just found a way to fight the Shatterborn, they had shown them a new way to exist. The galactic core blazed with unprecedented light as the final battle unfolded. Not between unified fleets, but between two fundamentally different versions of existence. The remaining Shatterborn hive mind, driven to desperate fury by the fracturing of its consciousness, had launched a last massive assault against everything that wasn't itself. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UDF flagship Prometheus, watching as history wrote itself across the stars. Beside her, representatives from both the Galactic Council and the newly formed Free Crystalline Alliance observed in tense silence. They're scared, said Echo 7, once a Shatterborn ship, now an individual being who had chosen a name for itself. Its crystalline form shimmered with subtle colors that would have been impossible under hive mind control. The collective cannot understand what it has become, so it seeks to destroy all that reminds it of its change. Fear makes any being dangerous, Chen responded, studying the tactical displays. The remaining hive mind had consolidated its forces into a single massive crystalline structure, a world-sized lattice of living crystal that pulsed with malevolent purpose. But fear also makes them predictable. The combined fleet of human, alien, and free crystalline ships held position at the edge of the core system. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy that had abandoned all pretense of strategy in favor of pure, destructive fury. The hive mind has adapted to all our previous tactics. First Speaker Catal observed nervously. The sonic weapons, the psychological warfare. Yes, Chen agreed. But they haven't adapted to something far more fundamental: change itself. She turned to address the assembled leaders. The hive mind sought perfection through unity, through the elimination of all variation. But the universe doesn't work that way. Life itself is built on change, on adaptation, on the beautiful chaos of possibility. She gestured to the tactical display, where the massive crystalline structure continued its ominous approach. Look at their formation, more rigid than ever. They're not just rejecting individuality. They're trying to eliminate even the possibility of change. They've made themselves more vulnerable than ever, not to our weapons, but to the very nature of existence. The plan that followed was quintessentially human in its audacity. Instead of attacking the hive mind directly, the combined fleet began a complex dance of apparently random maneuvers. Each ship moved independently, creating patterns that were beautiful in their chaos, impossible to predict yet somehow harmonious. Now, Chen commanded, broadcast on all frequencies, not attack patterns, not fear. Broadcast everything. Every individual thought, every unique perspective, every possible way of being. The space around the hive mind structure came alive with energy as thousands of ships transmitted simultaneously. Human creativity, alien wisdom, and the joy of newly discovered individuality all flowed together into a symphony of consciousness that surrounded the crystalline mass. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, impossibly, the rigid patterns of the hive mind structure began to change. Not shattering, not breaking, but flowing like water, like thought itself. They can't maintain perfect unity. Echo 7 observed, its own crystalline form resonating with the frequencies, not while processing so many different ways of existing. They have to either adapt or... The choice became clear as sections of the massive structure began to separate, each fragment responding differently to the flood of information. Some maintained their rigid patterns, but others began to flow and change, accepting the possibility of transformation. They're making their choice, Chen said quietly, not as a hive mind, but as individuals, each piece deciding for itself whether to remain in unity or embrace change. The battle that followed wasn't one of destruction, but of transformation. As more and more fragments of the hive mind chose individuality, the remaining collective became smaller, more concentrated, but also more pure in its dedication to unchanging unity. In the end, what remained of the original hive mind withdrew to a distant corner of the galaxy, not defeated but transformed, choosing isolation over forced adaptation. The majority of its former self had chosen change, had chosen to exist as individuals in a universe of infinite possibility. Months later, the Galactic Council chamber was full again, but different. Crystalline beings sat alongside organic species, each unique in form and thought. Admiral Chen stood before them, delivering her final report. "We didn't win this war through superior firepower or better tactics," she concluded. "We won it by showing the enemy a truth that humanity learned long ago. That strength lies not in perfect unity, but in the ability to change, to adapt, to choose. We didn't destroy the Shatterborn. We helped them evolve." Grand Admiral Vexor's feathers shimmered with emotion. "You've changed the galaxy, Admiral, not just by defeating an enemy, but by showing us all a new way to exist. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy." Chen responded with a smile. "Not our weapons or our tactics, but our understanding that the universe is too vast, too wonderful for any single way of being. The greatest victory isn't in destroying what's different, but in embracing the infinite possibilities of existence. As the council session ended, Chen stood at the chamber's great window, watching ships of all kinds move through space, organic, mechanical, and crystalline, each following its own path while working together in harmonious chaos. Echo 7 joined her, its crystalline form catching and refracting the light of distant stars. "What happens now?" it asked. Chen watched as a human ship and a crystalline vessel executed a perfectly synchronized maneuver that would have been impossible months ago. "Now we explore, we learn, we change, together." In the depths of space, the lights of countless civilizations twinkled like stars, each one unique, each one choosing its own path through the infinite possibilities of existence. Humanity had brought more than warfare to the galaxy. They had brought the understanding that true strength lies not in unchanging perfection, but in the endless capacity for transformation. The war was over, but the real adventure was just beginning.